would have never thought, ever, that I would be a coach. Fighting against a closed door will only lead to more frustration. When God is calling you out of something and is telling you now's the time to go, and we fight it, which I did. I fought it for a long time. I think it only caused more turmoil for me. I'm doing it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Relationships. This episode is kind of my worst nightmare. No, I'm kidding. It's my first solo episode. Can you guys believe it? We are, I think, almost 30 episodes in and about to launch. This will be the launch of season 3, and I'm so excited. I feel like I have so much in store for these next seasons coming up. And so much has changed in my life. So I thought, why not get on here, give you guys a little life update. I just had a birthday and just share some things that kind of have been on my heart and just the lessons I feel like I have picked up along the way. As I was kind of reflecting on a new year, I feel like this was a big birthday for me. And so, yeah, I just felt the need to get on here and talk to everybody and kind of just share where I'm at. So let's get to it. Okay, so I turned 35 in March, which is crazy. First of all, I can't believe I'm 35. I don't know if anyone else feels this out there, but man, that was a big birthday. But honestly, it was one of the best birthdays I had had. On my birthday, I spent it with my best friend. We actually went through my closet. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see my post, but we went through my entire closet. We said goodbye to some items that I held on to and I just couldn't let go of. And my best friend was like, girl, it's time. Get rid of it. So it was like a cleansing of like turning 35. So we got rid of a lot of stuff. We made a lot of space for just newness. And I feel like that was such a big, a big marker for my life. I think that's kind of synonymous with what's happening. I've said no to a lot of things. I've let go of a lot of things to allow God to bring in new stuff in this season. And so another big thing that happened in January, I left my corporate job, which kind of crazy. I think most people don't do that, I left at the end of the month, and that job was such a blessing, and it gave me, oh my God, I met some of the most amazing people through that job. I worked there for 5 years. I was in commercial real estate. I did marketing, event production, branding. And oh my goodness, like I look back at that time in my life and I'm like so grateful for all the amazing vendors I worked with, people that I met along the way, even people that lived where I was working. All of that was such a beautiful season until it wasn't. Until I realized I was like, this is not what I want to do anymore. And I really felt God pressing me to leave. I thought about it. I prayed about it. I went to church and got prayer about it. I had friends pray with me along the way. And ultimately, I really felt God calling me to leave, which is scary. I think when you leave a corporate job that you worked your entire, 20s to get, right? You put so much time and effort. You graduate, you do internships, you work multiple jobs, to kind of get to this role. And then you're there. And I was like, wait, I don't think this is what I'm supposed to be doing anymore, And so, yeah, I ended up leaving. And it's crazy because I think when you leave a corporate job too, like you realize how much your identity can get wrapped up in it. Because you're like, well, I'm a director. So I'm in marketing, or I do this thing. Like it becomes so much a part of our identity. So there was definitely some grieving in that and kind of letting that go as I was making that decision to leave. So that was a little bit tough, but man, coming on the other side of that, like it has been the biggest blessing and the best time I think I've had. And not only because I'm not working, the 9 to 5, but I think when God is calling you out of something and is telling you now's the time to go, and we fight it, which I did. I fought it for a long time. I think it only caused more turmoil for me. So when I finally left and was like, okay, Lord, like I'm doing it. There was such a relief that came with it. And so many interesting opportunities coming my way in the meantime, and I felt like similar to the closet, like getting rid of stuff. Like there were some things in there that I had to like kind of fight my friend, and I was like, but no, I love these gaucho pants. And she's like, girl, you have worn those so much. It is time to let them go. They have served their purpose. Now it's time to give someone else those pants so they could carry on. It was the same way with work. I was like, man, I'm holding on to this for so long. And I felt God kind of pressing on me, like, it's time for you to go. And it was so interesting too. There's so many closed doors in that season too. I was trying to leave for like a year. I was interviewing. I was like, and I mean, I had people connect me to different companies. I had interviews, like, and it was just closed door after closed door after closed door. And I realized, I was like, okay, God, I'm trying to do it my way. Like, I see how it is. I'm trying to do this my way. And you're like, woman, just listen to me and do what I'm telling you to do, because it will be so much better in the end. And anyway, so once I stopped fighting him, it's been glorious. It's been amazing. It's been such a peaceful, calm season in my life. I feel like I always go 100 miles an hour. And I've been learning to just breathe, take some time. Like, it is okay to take time. It is okay to rest. And that was really hard to learn. And I'm still not perfect at it. But I think this time has taught me a lot about my own patterns. Um, and just, I don't know, a lot of interesting things have come up, like how I spend my time has been a big one. And how things can be so distracting. Even good things can be distracting. And so, yeah, it's been a really interesting season, a lot of introspection, which I think has been really, really beautiful. A lot more quiet time, a lot more time with God, a lot more time to read, a lot more time to just be. And so that's been really special. So yeah, here we are. We're about to launch season 3. Actually, if this is live, this is season 3, so welcome. But I wanted to share with you, before I get into kind of like my top 10 lessons I learned up until 35 or recently, I wanted to share kind of my heart for this podcast and where I kind of see this going down the line. I love what we've done so far, bringing on some amazing people. We've brought on some amazing guests that are just sharing their everyday experience. And I will always treasure and love those. Those have been some of my most treasured episodes, because I feel like we learn so much from one another's stories, and we're definitely going to continue doing that. We brought in a lot of psychologists. We brought on some great authors, some really good books out there. And those have also been really special. I hope you have gotten something amazing out of them. If you are listening to this, I would love for you to comment on these episodes. You can comment on Spotify. I'd love to hear, maybe what was your favorite episode, or from the last 2 seasons. So we're definitely going to continue doing that. I think there's so much more we get to dive into in terms of relationships and dating. So I'm really excited for that. I definitely want to do more live events. If you have been here long enough, you'll know that we celebrated my 1-year anniversary, and we did this awesome in-person live podcast recording. I had 3 guests on. We had such an amazing time. Like, I was so on top of the world in that moment. It felt amazing to have so many people there and enjoying the night, enjoying the conversations. Like, it made me realize like how much I love connecting in person. Obviously, I love doing the podcast, but there is something so magical about the in-person interactions, right? You get the laughter in person, you get the people, people interacting, you see their facial expressions. Like, there's just something that about that just can't be replaced. So I'm definitely going to be doing more in-person events. I don't have a schedule for that yet. It's obviously a big production to do, but that's something that I have a really big desire to continue doing. And in terms of topics, like, there are so many interests I have. If you know me personally, you will know that I have many, many interests. And so there are some of those topics that I really also want to bring on to this next season. And maybe it's not going to be next season, it'll be the season after that. But there's topics like our health. Like, I'm a big health nut, if you don't already know. I've had a couple, I wouldn't say crazy health issues, but some hormonal issues. And diet became a really big thing for me. I started looking at what I was eating, ingredients in my food, even taking, getting crazy blood work done to see where my deficiencies, like, where could I be improving my health? And there's just so much of that I have learned over the last 5-6 years that I would love to share with you guys, because, when I started this podcast with the name Let's Talk Relationships, I felt like so much of that was also our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to food, our relationship to money, our relationship to our bodies. Like we have relationships, not just romantic. And so, I think for us to be the best versions of ourselves for a future partner, for the people around us, for our family, we have to look at kind of all facets of our life, right? We have to look at our finances. We have to look at our health. We have to look at what are we eating? How are we spending our time? There's so much of that makes you a really well-rounded human. And so I would love to bring on some more of those topics. They're not going to be the majority of the next couple seasons, but I just want you to know if we happen to have some health topic, you're not like, why is she talking about health? She's a relationship podcast person. So just know that we are definitely going to be bringing on some more topics that I think are really pertinent and important for the majority of people to know and to understand and to learn a little bit more about. So know that that's coming. And I'm just so excited for this season. Like I said, I've been in this, I've taken a couple months to kind of slow down, to kind of reevaluate where I feel like God's calling me, where I feel like, this season is taking me. And it's been awesome. And that has just made me more ready and more excited to put out more content and to kind of see where this podcast can go. And, like I said, I'm like, God, this is yours, whatever you want to do with it. Like, I'm along for the ride. So, but yeah, if you've been here this far, thank you so much. This has been a really cool passion project of mine, that is actually kind of turning into something bigger. The next announcement I have is, drum roll. I have been actually also in this time, I've been working on a certification, for relationship and life coaching. So this week, the week that I'm recording, is my last week of the certification program. And then I'll be going into a season of studying to pass this exam. And oh my gosh, to say that I'm excited is an understatement. Like I am beyond excited to start this journey of coaching. And it's just been such a crazy season. I would have never thought ever that I would be a coach. Like this was never in the cards for me. This was never something that I was like, oh, I'm dreaming about being a coach, like ever. I always thought I went to business school. I was like, I'm going to do marketing. I thought about maybe doing real estate. Like I was always in that lane. And like I said, it wasn't until the last couple of years I started feeling like a little like tug on my heart. Honestly, this started like 5 years ago, but it was very early. I didn't really know what the tug on my heart was. I felt very clear, okay, start this podcast. I was like, okay, God, I don't want to start a podcast, but sure. And I remember being like, okay, God, well, if I'm going to start this podcast, like, I don't have a name. Can't start a podcast without a name. So what do you want me to do? No joke. I literally am washing dishes in my kitchen. Just, washing my dishes. And I hear like, not like audibly, but like in my mind, I hear, let's talk relationships. And I was like, damn it, that's a good name. I was like, I like it. And I really feel like God was like, here, I'm downloading it for you. Here's the name. And through this journey, like I've learned so much behind the scenes. I read a ton of relationship books. I love psychology. I love learning about how relationships work, how our mind works, how our nervous system works. Like it's been so fascinating for me. And over the years, I've just felt like my desire has just shifted away from marketing and event production and branding and all of that as a profession. And I felt a little more called into the space, but I genuinely didn't know what that would look like. I was like, I don't know, like, what does that even mean? It's like, okay, I like this stuff. How do I turn this into a career? And I think a year prior to this, I started looking into certification programs and I doubted myself. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this. Like, I don't know. And then I started working on other projects. I was like, okay, let me start consulting. Let me start doing all these other things. When, at the end of the day, I was like, dang, I think this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it has been such an amazing journey, to go through the certification program. It's super in depth. I'm doing it with, it's called Integrated Attachment Theory. It's with Thais Gibson. It's an incredible program. And I'm about to graduate from it and I'm so excited. But that's also going to be a new thing coming out is I'm going to be offering coaching sessions. So I'll share more about that when I'm ready to officially launch it. Right now, I'm working on studying and taking on practice clients and kind of building the back end of the business because there's a lot that goes into it. And so I think once I'm ready to officially announce it, I will let everybody know. But just know that that's something that's coming up. I'm truly so excited. It was just spending some quiet time with God this morning, and I was just praying over, like, oh my God, like I'm gonna have clients that I'm gonna, essentially kind of get a window into their lives and uncover maybe some hurts and some deep pains that they have and work together with people and walk alongside people in their hurt and their pain. And that is so special and so vulnerable to do with people. Like you have to have like a willing heart to do that. I know this work is not going to be easy by any means, but I am, yeah, I'm just so honored to be stepping into this season of my life. And yeah, so those are kind of the updates. I just thought I'd share and start with that. And I'm very excited. Like I'm really looking forward to the season. And yeah, if it's a testament to anything, I think when you have something on your heart and you feel God calling you into something that sometimes doesn't make sense, like this did not make sense to me. None of it made sense to me. Um, you have to go for it. Like you have to go for it, you know? I fought God on it so long, so many times. But I'm here in the midst of it, at the beginning of it, and I'm just like, it's incredible. So I'm really excited. But anywho, now we're going to get into the meat of this episode. Wanted to give you all an update, bring you along on this journey with me. I'm not going to lie, I was very nervous to do a solo episode. I feel much more comfortable interviewing and having a guest on here than me just getting on here and talking to y'all. But here we are. I hope to do more of these. I think it would be really fun. And I kind of get to share things that are on my heart and things that I'm passionate about or things that I feel like God's teaching me. I want to download that to you all. But now for the bulk of this episode. I wanted to go through, I really reflected on my birthday. So birthday was in March. I turned 35. I was a little nervous turning 35. I'm not going to lie. It's a big number, especially I'm single. I'm not married. Don't have kids. Like, I was like, wow, 35. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, it was a very weird age because it's like you can't really relate to your 25-year-old people. Like, and even people that are like 28, 29, it still feels like there's like, we're friends, but there's a little, not disconnect, but you feel like you can't totally relate to them entirely. But then you also can't relate to your friends over here who are married and have kids. And so you kind of feel like you're in your own lane. I don't know if that makes any sense for all my 35-year-olds and above, but it's this interesting dynamic that I've been just kind of like thinking through and living with, So it was a big birthday, but I really took some time to reflect. I'm like, man, these last 5 years from when I turned 30, March 2020, which was right during the pandemic. That was a very interesting time to turn 30. And I looked at how quickly these last 5 years have gone. But I also looked at like, wow, I've also grown so much in these last 5 years. So many emotions up and down, so many different times of my life, like so much heartbreak, but also so many amazing moments and friendships and beautiful relationships that I had. And so I just kind of reflected on the last 5 years. And these are kind of some things that I feel like I am holding hard to. And I'm like, yes, these are big lessons of mine that I'm still not perfected. I have not perfected any of these. But I think these are 10 things that I feel like I've just felt are just so important in my next season of life. So, number 1, learn to hear God. And that sounds very vague, but I have learned that we live such busy lives. I mean, I think back to like how crazy my schedule has been over the last many years. I have every day booked. I've got something this night, something this night, something this night, a friend thing this night. It's just my schedule is always packed. And I was like, that leaves me very little time to just quiet down, to hear my own thoughts, to hear myself, to hear God. Like if you don't spend time with him and you're not in prayer with him and you're not taking time to slow down, like you just don't hear him. You don't hear him at all. It's too hard. And I just realized, especially this is the lesson I think I learned mostly in this season of like not having of having left my job. Um, is like, wow, how busy is my life? Because even on days that I'm, I have some clients, still doing some consulting, so I still have a somewhat of a schedule, but I feel like, man, it's so easy just to fill my day. Um, because I feel like productivity for me was like, in a way, it's like it made me feel good. I'm like, okay, I'm productive. I'm doing good stuff today, which is nothing wrong with that at the end of the day. But I also didn't give myself a lot of time to rest. And so I often found his voice is quiet and it's steady, and you hear it in your quiet. It's not loud. He's not ever yelling at you. He's not being like, go here. It's usually the soft, quiet voice that's like, now's the time. Go. Here it is. I feel like that's when I've heard him the most is in mundane, everyday moments and moments where I've just been quiet and still. I feel like that's when I have genuinely heard him the loudest and the most. Um, and I feel like even when what he has told me doesn't make sense, I'm like, what are you like, start this podcast? I'm like, no, I don't want to start a podcast. Like, I don't want to speak in front of people. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to do social media posts. Like, I was like, this does not sound like anything that I want to do. But even when he doesn't make sense, I just trust it. Something I often do too is when I hear his voice or someone has prayed over me and they had a very specific message, I always write it down. I write it down, put the date. Sometimes I'll put the person too, if I know them. And I'll go back to it because a lot of the time his word will come true. Most of the time in my life, it's come true. But sometimes in the moment, it doesn't make sense, So I always do that. So one, it's the biggest thing is like learn to hear God's voice, quiet down, slow down, really, really look at your schedule and see where can I actually take some time? How do I get some time back? Where instead of just always giving time to everybody else, always doing something, always being busy, always being on the go, especially for us who live in LA, it's like impossible. You have a birthday invite, then you have like, oh, my dog's birthday. Oh, and then I'm launching a business. Oh, there could be an event every night of the week. Oh, and then I'm taking this yoga class tonight and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. It's so easy to get wrapped up in all of that. But that's my challenge is like, take a look at your calendar and see like, am I spending any time with myself? Am I spending any time with God? To really listen and understand and hear yourself, I think is so vital. So lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, health is a gift and honor it. Honor your body, honor what you put in it. I learned that many, many years ago. And our health, and especially the older I'm getting, not that I'm that old, I can hear all the you're not that old. I'm not that old. I know. But as I get older, you still start to feel things in your 30s. I mean, things hurt, my neck, back, like things start to hurt. But I just feel like it's so vital for us to take care of our bodies in every way possible. So that means getting active, going to the gym, working out, going on walks, whatever that is for you. I'm just like, that is so important, especially as you age and as you get older. I'm not going to get into the logistics of it, but we lose, muscle mass as we get older. And I think as I see my parents age and a lot of the issues that they're having, I'm like, dang, so much of what they're dealing with is preventable. Like so much is preventable through what you're eating, how you're treating your body, So for me, the biggest lesson, I was like, that is always going to be a priority for me. Like it is a non-negotiable, especially when it comes to dating. Like I want someone who values their health and values just the idea of health and being healthy and putting your bodies first in many ways. How do I treat my body? Like if our bodies are temples, we have to be healthy enough to do God's will. We can't do God's will if we're sick or if we're constantly sick or if our bodies are struggling or if we don't have energy. So if you are able and healthy, it's like, look at what am I eating? What am I putting in my body? Like, am I spending any time exercising or going for a walk or running or whatever it is that you like to do? Like, are we really prioritizing that? And it makes such a difference. Like, I do not always want to go to the gym. Majority of the time, I don't want to go to the gym. I just don't. I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to go. And then I go anyways. And that's what everyone always tells me. And I would hate that. I'm like, oh, whatever. I want to be motivated to go. Well, you're not going to be all the time. And so I have really had to, I struggled with that. I'm like, I've really had to just learn to do things that I'm not motivated to do. And that is another thing, and this is a side caveat, no, but that is another thing I realized in this season of life. I was like, wow, I will prioritize comfort over everything and anything. Subconsciously, I'm not even always thinking about it, but I will always prioritize comfort. And that is in things like, this is a dumb example, but this is my TV stand over here, you can see it. I had a stack of papers on that TV stand for months. I looked at it and I would add to it. So I'd get all this paperwork and I would sit it there and I would never go through it, ever. And that's just one example. There's other things around my house that I look at and I'm like, I'm just not going to go through that. I'm not cleaning that right now. And I just started realizing, like, I'm never going to have motivation to clean that. Like, I can't be like, oh, well, one day when I'm motivated, I was like, no, I'm just going to do it now. I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to do it. Same thing with laundry. I would put laundry out, I'd throw it on my bed, and I would be like, I'm just not going to do it right now. I'm going to do it later. Because I just didn't feel like doing it. And I was like, no, you're going to do it now. And I've had to talk, this is how I'm talking to myself throughout the day. I'm like, no, you're going to fix it now. You're going to do it now because you don't want to add problems for later. So I was like, I'm never going to do it. If I have clothes on the bed and I don't do it right away, they will be sitting there for days. For days. I hate admitting that because I'm pretty much a clean freak, but they will because I'm lazy sometimes. And so that is one thing I've adopted. And that, that is true for working out. There are mornings I wake up, I don't want to go to the gym. There are afternoons that I'm like, well, I didn't make it in the morning, so now I have to go. I don't want to go. And so I'm trying to make myself more accustomed to doing things that I'm not motivated to do. That means unloading the dishwasher in a decent time, putting the dishes in the sink in the dishwasher quickly, not letting them pile up, I know it's these little things, but it's like, if we can build on some of these patterns and some of, these sort of small things, like over time that builds into the big things. And it starts to become natural to you. It starts to become a habit because you build it over time. And so health is going to be the same thing. It's like prioritizing, what am I eating? What am I putting in my body? And how am I treating my body? So that was a huge lesson for me. And it's a daily act. Like every day I'm like, okay, today's the day I'm going to the gym, So that was one other lesson. Number 3. This one's a hard one. When a door closes, let it. Fighting against a closed door will only lead to more frustration. And I saw that all of last year. When I tell you I had so many doors shut, I mean, it was door after door after door. Because I was looking for a new job. I was like, I want to leave. I want to start something new. And deep down, I didn't want any of these jobs. I didn't want to work in any of them. But the salaries were good. I was like, oh, these are good companies. I should want to work at one of these jobs. And it was like every single opportunity that I had. It was like friends introduced me and, all of them were closed doors for one reason or another. They moved the position to Austin, or I just never heard back from them. Or they're like, oh, we're on a hiring freeze, actually suddenly. Or it was like all these, or you just didn't get the job. There's so many different reasons, but they were all just closed doors. And I knew before I started looking for jobs, I felt God calling me to leave my job. And I was like, there is no plan. I don't have a plan. What do you mean leave my job? That doesn't make any sense. And again, it doesn't make any sense. But instead, I didn't listen, and I continued to try to find more doors to open, and they were all shut in my face. And I think with that, I just realized, I'm like, I have to trust God's direction in my life. Because his no's and his closed doors are often redirections. He's saying, no, this is not for you. It looks good, but you don't know what I have for you. We can't see what God has for us in the future. And it's so hard to trust blindly, right? I don't know if this coaching business is going to be successful. I don't know what the future holds. I have no idea specifically what it's going to look like. But all I know is that I was called into something and I said yes, and here I am. And I've learned that God is often looking for our obedience. He's looking for our yes. He's not looking for us to figure it out. He's not looking for us to always have a detailed plan. He's looking for us to say, Lord, I trust you and I'm here for it. Like, I trust you. I know your ways are better. Go for it. And so, like I said, when a door closes, let it. Do not try and pry it open. And we often do this in relationships, don't we? The door shuts. We know this is not the relationship for us. But we have needs, we're longing, we're missing someone, and we find ourselves trying to crack the door open again when we know that God's like, no, I said no. We closed this door for a reason. And so that was a huge one. I had to just let some stuff go. I had to let these doors that were shut, I had to let them go. My next point number 4, and this kind of ties into learn to hear God. But number 4 is stillness is essential. I think when we make decisions in haste and we take a certain direction, but we do it in haste and quick, I often feel like it's detrimental to our futures. And you have to be still to know what direction to take. You have to be still and feeling, are you seeing that this is the path or is it this path? When you're going so fast, you miss all that. And the same thing is true for relationships. When we don't know how to be still within ourselves, calm within ourselves, when we date or we're in a relationship, we often miss things because we're so either quick to move ahead or we're so enthralled with the person. So we're quick in our emotions, right? We miss red flags. We miss a lot of things. And so I feel like stillness is so essential, and it is so freaking hard. Okay. My ADHD brain cannot handle it. I have to do it in small increments, like 5-10 minutes at a time, like just having moments of stillness in the morning, in the evening. For me, the best and my favorite way to do it, I go for a walk at the park. It's a beach park. It's beautiful. It's beautiful out. That for me is my favorite quiet time. I don't have headphones in. I'm not listening to a podcast. I don't have music on. I just go, I walk, I spend time with God, and I'm quiet and I'm still. And you'll just notice how much either stuff comes up or how easier it is to make decisions when you've created space and you've created some stillness in your life. So that was a huge one. And that is one that has made all the difference, especially in the season of like, I don't know what is going on. I don't know where I'm going. And I think in that season, it was when it's even more important to have those moments of quiet and so moments of still. And my next point, and this is point number 5. People are your greatest gifts. And this is something from at any age or wherever, I've just noticed I have cherished, like when I think about my blessings in my life, I always think about the people that God has brought into my life. And I cherish those friendships more than anything. People will always be more valuable, more cherished than things, than, even sometimes experiences, I feel like the friendships I have had, I think I felt this at my birthday. I threw a little birthday party and I had a bunch of people there supporting me and there to celebrate. And I was just like, wow, like all these people showed up to celebrate my birthday. And that means so much to me. Because I know how rare that is. Like, I know there's people out there that are struggling. They don't have friendships. They don't have close friends that they can go to and share their vulnerable moments and ask for advice and confide in. Like, I know that it is such a gift and it's so rare. So it's just something that I'm like, man, the older I get, the more I cherish and value friendships. And the contrary to that, I think when you do value that so much, you also have to look at, like, what are friendships that might not be forever, right? Like, what are some friendships that are only meant for a season? This goes back to a closed door. Like, there are some friendships that are not meant to be with you for an eternity. And sometimes we try to hold on to them through all seasons of life. And that is when you start to have turmoil. Either you're like, oh, I'm just trying too hard. I just feel like we don't fit, or we've grown apart and we're trying to make this friendship work. And sometimes it just doesn't. And there doesn't have to be any bad reason for it. Doesn't have to be some big fallout of why it's not working. Sometimes it's just a friendship for a season. And we have to be willing and able to let that go when the moment is right. When the moment has come to a close and it's like what I did with my wardrobe. It was like, thank you for what you've given me. Thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for being in my life when I really needed it. And for that season. And like you let it go like a dove. And it's not always easy because I feel like we try to hold on to these friendships and relationships like they define our lives. But I really do feel like God's like, sometimes people are only there for a season in your life, and I've put them there for a season. And then after that, it's like they're like, let them go, let them fly away. Don't hold on to things that are just expired at the end of the day. And sometimes it's just two friendships grow apart. Sometimes your interests totally change. I think you have your close friends, and those are your, honestly, 1 to 2 people in your life, maybe 3 people max. Like, and I'm talking, these are your, what does Brene Brown call them? Oh, she calls them like something like the let's carry the dead body friends, like that type of friend where you're in turmoil or something's happening, and you're like, yo, girl, like, I need you right now, You have those friends. And then you have your kind of like your 15 friends on the outer side. And then you have kind of like your community, So also understanding where friends fit in that is helpful, because then you're not trying to hold on to a friendship that maybe isn't close anymore. Maybe you're like, maybe we're more of an acquaintance now. And that's okay. I think we got to be okay with letting these things go without having it to be something dramatic. Like, nothing dramatic has to happen. Sometimes you outgrow friendships, and that is okay. I just want us to get to a point where we're like, it is okay to let friendships go. And I'm not saying, I want to preface, that you should cut everybody out. I'm not saying that. So I'm just saying, being mindful of when a friendship is ready to expire, or is expiring, or is expired. You usually feel it in your heart. You usually feel it kind of right here. You're like, ooh, I don't know if I like, me and this person are still at that level of closeness. So anyway, that is that point. People are your greatest gifts. My next one is give your parents the gift of time. Now, this one has been a struggle for me. I haven't shared much about kind of family relations on here. I don't think I ever really will. But as my parents get older, I started realizing that, like, man, so much of what they want is your time. Oh my God, I think I'm going to get a little emotional. I started realizing that, like, I feel like my parents get so excited when we come over and we visit, or we have lunch with them, or like I recently took my dad out for coffee. Wow, I'm literally, I can feel it right here. Ugh. I'm gonna try and get through this and not cry. Because I realized that their time with us is so finite as they get older. Oh my God, I'm literally crying. Can't believe I'm crying. It's not mean to get emotional about this. Yeah, their time with us is limited. And I think I have realized that I haven't given them, I think that's why I'm emotional. I haven't given them enough time. And it's often, I'm just selfish with my time. I want to do everything on my own time. I don't want to drive all the way out there to go see them. I come up with all the excuses, And I realize that I'm like, that's all they want. It's all they want. They don't want gifts. They don't want, more of all that. They want your time at the end of the day. And I realize when I'm old and I have kids, that's really all I think I would want either. Like, you have everything else in your life that you want. And you just realize, like, the value of family and the value of family time. So, wow, I am like, just, woo! This one really gets me. We're gonna have to take a second. Woo! Okay, guys, I'm back. Oh, I had a moment, had a good cry. My period's starting in like 2 days, so it's probably why I'm so much more emotional. Anyway, wow, what a way to do a solo episode. Anyway, back to my next point. This is a really big one too. Take nothing personally. And this one is freaking hard. But it's so vital. Oftentimes what I've learned, how someone shows up for you, how someone may possibly treat you, what they think about you, can often come from their own hurt, their own pain, their own damage. And I'm not talking about close friends who have permission to speak into your life, or friends that have permission to speak into your life about something, right? They're giving you feedback or something like that. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying oftentimes we take a lot of things personally that aren't intended to be personal. And what that leads to is we find our worth, our value, our validation through others. And that's where it gets sticky. We put those things in the hands of other people, and that is very detrimental because often other people are also dealing with issues. They're dealing with pains and hurts from their past. They have core wounds, they have traumas, and they often show up and treat people out of that. And now we are allowing people to give us value through their actions, through how they treat us. And so I think the less you can internalize, the more peace you will have. Because most of the time, like I said, people's actions have nothing to do with you, And let's tie this into dating. Someone ghosts you. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm not going to take that as, oh, well, I'm an unworthy person, or I'm unlovable, or someone who ghosts is someone who can't communicate. They have shame around it. They maybe don't have the skill set to communicate, or they're just simply a coward. They're cowardly, and oftentimes they will ghost, Or maybe someone gives you an attitude and you're like, well, what did I do for you to speak to me that way, I'm not saying don't set up boundaries around people like that, but what I'm saying is don't make it mean something about you, because that is a big trap. And that means we're allowing a lot of people to speak into our lives who you're like, or to define who we are, when I'm sorry, but no, you're defined by God. You're not defined by other people and other people's issues. So just be really cautious of that. I think that's something I would take so many things personal. Oh my God, like criticism at work. I early on in my career when I was younger, just to hear criticism, I was like, oh, like it was like the worst thing. I was like, I'm horrible. No one likes me. I'm the worst manager ever. Like horrible. It wasn't until I started doing this internal work. And this wasn't until I was like 29 when I started doing this work too. 28, 29. And yeah, I found so much worth from what people would say about me, And I think when you realize where your identity is and you're grounded in that, and you're grounded in yourself, you have peace, and not external peace from other people, like true, deep, grounded peace. You are less affected by other people in this world. And it is such a release. Like you don't feel so burdened by other people. And so that was a really hard one to learn, but such a vital one to learn. And this ties perfectly into your identity is in God and not in titles, possessions, status, or other people's opinions of you. I think if you build your identity on other things, you are standing on shaky ground. You will always make decisions from that. And when you do that, you abandon yourself. You completely abandon yourself in that. You make decisions to please people, to gain a status, to make more money, or, all these other things because you find identity in those things. Then we spend all of our time trying to build up these facades. And those facades are a facade. They can come down at any point. Your title, you can get fired or you can get let go. Your possessions could be gone tomorrow, quite literally. Your money. I mean, you could be rich one day and look at the stock market today. It is not doing well. So I think when we put so much of our identity in other things and things around us, we're so much like more easily, like we fall so much easier if we do that. And so that was something, again, this tied in a lot to me with not taking things personal and also understanding and like I said, leaving my job, that was a big identity shift for me because I wrapped up so much of my identity in my work and how much money I made. Even though I didn't outwardly necessarily always show that, internally I felt validation, right? I felt validation by a salary. I felt validation by a title. I felt validation by my work. And over the years, this didn't just happen like I quit my job and it felt differently. This started slowly unraveling over the last 2 years. I started realizing like, wow, why is my identity so wrapped up in this? Like, I don't want to live a life where I'm identified by my work, by my my salary, by any of that, my financial status, by all these things, that we're told by society. Oh, have this much in your 401k and have this type of title and own a home and do this and get married and have kids. And society will put on so much pressure and give you so many different identities that you have to live up to. And you'll start to notice that you'll just never live up to it. It's never enough. It's never enough. And I don't want to live that way. I don't want to be identified by those things, And I think for me, a lot of that started shifting. Like I started looking at my career differently. I started looking at money differently. It started to become a resource for me, not a place for identity. For me, it was like, wow, well, if I make enough money, it means I can do more things for others. I can give more. I can take this class. I can go to this school. Like it gave me more options. It gave me more resources. It was not a point of identity anymore. And neither was my work. Like, look, I don't even know what I'm doing currently. Like I don't officially have a title. I'm building a business, but it's not there yet. I'm not working. Like if I had wrapped up my identity entirely in those things, I would be a wreck. I would be a complete wreck right now. Like I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know who I am. And not that I don't have moments of that. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like sometimes when you don't have a clear path ahead, you're just like, oh, you have moments where you're like, what am I doing? But ultimately, like my identity is grounded in God and grounded in who he's created me to be. And I think that's the journey of life. It's like you're just going through life and you're seeing more of who God has made you. And you're shedding things that is not of him. You're shedding things that you picked up along the way, right? Your traumas as a kid, the way you were raised, that one person that said that thing about you forever ago has now stuck and become part of your identity. Like I've just been learning, like, how do I shed more and more of those things through work, through therapy, through all that? Like, how do I become more of who God has created me to be? And to do that, your identity has to be founded in him. It can't be founded in things of this world. So next, number 9, throw away your timeline. Ooh, and the Lord really taught me this one. I think in my 20s, I was very much more concerned by my career. I grew up with little to no money, and which is funny because a lot of people think I grew up like wealthy. I'm like, no, I just somehow became like, I have a bougie side. I can't lie. I like nice things, to some degree. It's mostly like I like good food and things like that. But anyway, I grew up poor. We didn't have money. Parents were immigrants, and so my 20s, I was like, I got to get out of college. I got to figure out how to make money. That was the focus. Like I had a relationship, but it didn't feel like this deep desire. I was like, oh, I'll get married in my 30s at some point, But then my 30s came around and I was like, okay, well, I have the career. I've built, a pretty decent like living out of it. And I was like, okay, Lord, like I wasn't expecting to leave my job, completely change careers, to not be married at this age, And I think there's a mourning you have to go through with all of that. Especially with, I go back and forth with, I thought I'd be married by 35, or maybe I didn't think I was gonna be married by 35. But I think for me, I've had to mourn a lot. Like I always pictured I would be married to my person and then not have kids for a while. Like I always dreamed of having like 5 years with my partner before kids. And obviously, as a woman, that window closes quite quickly. And there is a timeline. Like, I don't want to have a kid at 45, right? And so I think that has been something that I'm like, oh, wow, I have to actually grieve that a little bit and reconcile that a little bit. And I think it's okay. I want to give us permission to grieve these things. I think something I noticed is people want to always give you false hope. Oh, but you could find someone in the next couple months and get married and have a kid. I'm like, whoa, I could, but that's not promised to me. I don't live in this fantasy world, And I just want us to give each other permission to grieve. Like, I feel like as a society, we're so against grief. We're so against grieving parts of our lives. And we just shove down the feelings and then we move on, right? And it's like, no, like it's okay to grieve the life you thought you were going to have and still be like, okay, God, I trust you. With everything, I trust you, and give your life to him and know that his timeline's better than yours. Both can be true. and in making a decision to be like, okay, God, like it's yours, you know, my life is yours. I'm going down the path you want me to go down. And I trust you. I trust you with all of that. I can also, in the process, grieve the life that I thought would be at this point in my life. And it's not happening. And so if you ever felt like you just weren't allowed to grieve that, like I just want to give you permission for that right now. Like you are allowed to be sad and to grieve a part of your life that you maybe thought was going to happen, or a season of your life that maybe is taking longer than it is, and still trust God with it, So I think that's been a really important lesson for me, is like allowing myself to grieve some of these things. And yeah, and in that, trusting that like God's got it. Like my life is not going to run on my schedule. And my value and my worth is not going to come from where I thought I would be by now. It's just not. That's not going to happen. And again, because my identity is in God, and because I'm not taking things super personally from people, then, for me, it's easier when these things happen. You grieve, you're sad about it, but you're not questioning your identity and who you are, Because I think that's what happens. A lot of the time we get to a certain age and we're not married, and we think, well, what's wrong with me? Right? Well, what's wrong? Like, is something wrong with me that I haven't met anybody? And it's so easy to go that route. It's so easy to look at where other people are and be like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not in those seasons of life? Because our worth and value maybe intentionally be tied into that, right? Do we find value in someone loving us, in someone choosing us, So when we're not chosen, let's say, and we're not in a relationship, we feel less than. So that is an area I would really implore you to sit with. Like if you're starting to feel stirred up in that, like really sit down and understand, like, am I finding identity in a partner in marriage in those areas? Because let me tell you that even when you get married, if you have placed your identity in someone else that strongly and that deeply, it will show up in your marriage, because you're going to put all your worth and value in somebody else, and that person at some point will fail you, because we are humans and your partner will not be perfect. So that is something in your singleness that I implore you to work on, and to just really, like, if you're feeling that stir up in you, like being stirred up in you, get quiet and start to get curious. Like, am I putting too much value in this? Like, am I finding worth in a potential future partner? And do I feel worthless and like less worthy because I'm not in a relationship? So that is one I will say, look deeper into. And last but not least, God's plan is greater than your plan. This is one, this requires surrender. Surrender is hard. Obedience is hard. But living on your own plan is harder, because when it's your plan, you're the one that is required to have to maintain it, not God. And so while surrender is hard and obedience is difficult, his will and his plan for your life is always going to be better, because he sees the full picture. He sees way ahead. He sees what we desire. He also sees what's best for us, and he sees our future. And so I always have to remind myself, like, his timing and him telling me to wait is for my own good, for my own protection. And I have to remember that. And it is so hard, because you're not in control, and it requires you to kind of surrender this false control that we think that we have. But we have to surrender that. We have to let go of this plan that we have for our lives. And I think for me, this may have been maybe a tiny bit easier. Not easy, just slightly easier, because I am really bad at planning ahead. I don't really like, for being an event planner, the question I always hated getting asked on a date, or, or friends or whatnot, is, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, like, where do you see yourself in a year? And this is the question I always, like, when you have those little question cards and you pull the question, it was like a future question. I was like, I hate those. I hated those, because I was like, I don't think ahead. I don't think like that. I don't think 5 years from now. I don't think 10 years from now. Like, I think there's moments that I do, like, obviously, oh, I thought, I'd probably be married sometime in my early 30s. Like, that was a thought. It wasn't necessarily a strong plan. And I think there's positives and negatives to that, to not being super like plan oriented. But I have found a lot more positives in it than I think I have found negatives in it. I think what is it allowed me to do is to be really present to where God is calling me. Because had I been super like, I'm dead set on these specific plans, I'm like 5 years, I'm moving here, I'm doing this, or, I think I would have been blinded to opportunities that God kind of brought into my life. And I haven't really shared with you guys like my journey with work and, and just where God has taken me over the last decade. It has been awesome and beautiful. And a lot of it has been like total surrender to Him. And it's always worked out. And so I think I'm glad I was never the type to kind of be so set on like a super, strict plan. But I have small plans. I'll have little plans. I'll have, and I still have to give this up to God. I still have to surrender that on a daily basis. But let me tell you guys, like, His plan and His will for your life is so much sweeter than we can imagine and what our plans for our lives are. And that I would love for everyone to experience that at one point in their lives, or experience that in their lives in general. It is, like I said, it is gut-wrenching sometimes. It is hard. It is hard to let go. It is hard to let go of control. Because even now I still have doubts, like, okay, quit your job and start this thing. I'm like, really? Like, really, God? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like, finances and how am I going to make money and how am I going to do, you still experience that. But at the end of the day, you're like, okay, God, like, you hear my heart, you know my concerns. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I have to surrender it to you and I have to be obedient to what you're calling me to do. So yeah, that is where I'm going to leave you guys. God's plan is greater than your plan. Anyway, I think we're almost at an hour, a little over an hour. So I thank you guys so much for coming on this journey with me. Hope you got a little bit of something out of my little bit of wisdom that I feel like God has bestowed on me the last couple of years. Hope you got something out of it. And thank you so much for listening and for being a listener of this podcast and supporting this. It would mean the world to me if you could rate this podcast and follow and comment. Like, that makes all the difference for podcasters. It helps your, podcast be shown more, pop up on discovery pages. And it always looks good to have great ratings for your podcast. So if you're here and you made it this far and you are an LTR listener, I would love if you could do that. So welcome to season 3, and I'm so excited for this season. We'll talk soon. Bye.